10 years ago, Coach James Larson gave Brian Ortega a choice. Brian Ortega decided to whack Jay Park in the face. OT City. This Saturday is one of the biggest fights to me personally in the UFC. One of the fights I was excited for when, Dana White announced that we were going back to Fight Island. I was looking at the cards, and when I saw Ortega versus Zombie, I rubbed my hands together. I was surprised that this wasn't on an undercard for the pay-per-view. Khabib versus Gaethje, I thought for sure that maybe somewhere in the middle of that card, Ortega and Zombie would be there, but nope, they're giving this the full event treatment on ESPN Plus, and heck, this fight does deserve it because there is some drama between these two guys. Obviously, as I mentioned before, Brian Ortega going up and slapping Jay Park in the face, pretty much acting like he did such a big macho move. Yeah, he's such a badass because he hit the instigator. Nah, man, you look like a punk because you hit a guy who really just makes rap music and is a K-pop star. I don't even think if Jay Park knows how to throw a combination. There's many different sides to it. Some people believe that Jay Park did instigate the situation between Zombie and Brian Ortega, but at the same time, Brian Ortega, if he really wanted to do something to Jay Park, why did he have to wait till Korean Zombie went to the restroom at UFC 248? Yes, so what happened was, back in December, Brian Ortega and Korean Zombie were supposed to fight at the card that was going to take place in Korea as the main event. Ortega slided, I believe, a couple weeks out from the event that he couldn't fight because of a knee injury. This led to, Zombie doing media press. He's talking about his next opponents and stuff. And Jay Park loosely translated that Brian Ortega is afraid to fight Zombie. This is what Zombie was saying. It was a loose translation. I believe Jay Park even said that in the Ariel Helwani interview that he did, and I'll link that down below if anyone wants to refer to it. But pretty much Jay Park admitted that he loosely translated, and he was going to apologize to Brian Ortega himself personally. So at UFC 248, they were kind of sitting in the same area. UFC is known to do this where, they know that there's guys where they can't sit with them at all. They cannot sit them in the same area because there's going to be fights. But sometimes if they want that little bit of an extra promotion, if they want that little bit of extra pub, they make the seating arrangements. Don't act like, oh no, it's just a coincidence. No. Uncle Dana knows what he's doing. He knows people know what Brian Ortega and Jay Park are talking about. Brian Ortega pretty much is one of Dana White's superstars at this point. Modelo commercials, top celebrity actors like Robert Downey Jr. and Halle Berry wanting to train with him. I mean, Ortega's Hispanic, so Dana White's been trying to find the void that Cain Velasquez is missing, because at that time, Yair Rodriguez is still kind of growing. It's not like Yair Rodriguez is who he is now. It's like his star is still growing, but Ortega is the solidified star and superstar good looks. You can't deny it. Brian T. City Ortega, Claudia Gadelha was all getting all flustered just talking about him, about putting and wanted babies put inside of her. So Ortega has a rep. So Dana thought maybe, a nice little extra pub to this fight between Zombie and Ortega. Ortega and Zombie start talking crud in the crowd. You get that little crowd shot where the fans are all the way at the top, and they're scanning it and you can barely see it. And then also too, maybe just a little talking back and forth. But instead it was a little bit cordial. And then all of a sudden Korean Zombie goes to the restroom. And Brian Ortega decided, oh yeah, that's when I'm going to confront Jay Park, when the guy who I'm supposed to be fighting, or who wants to fight me, instead of me, addressing them right then and there, I'm going to go ahead and slap Jay Park when the guy who I'm supposed to fight is going to the restroom. Ortega felt like he was such a badass. And this is where Ortega is kind of sipping it on his own Kool-Aid. He's like, Brian Ortega is kind of sipping on his own shit right here. He really does feel like that he's some untouchable superstar, that he's on the level of a Nick Diaz, Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor. He could kind of do whatever, and fans are going to be like, Ortega's such a badass. Well, here's the thing, Brian Ortega. The Diaz brothers would not wait till Zombie went to the restroom to slap some guy that's not a fighter. No, if anything, the Diaz brothers are going to focus on trying to slap Zombie. Conor McGregor would probably do something despicable like that. But I will say with McGregor, I think he would do it if that individual was there. Like, I don't think McGregor would wait until Zombie went to the restroom. I think McGregor would have gone, Zombie would have tried to talk to him, and then he would have tried to done a swinging punch. What you did was so beta. Like, you waited until the dude went to the restroom, and then you decided to slap the guy. UFC pretty much knew Ortega messed up, and anything that you saw with his Modelo commercials and any type of promotion in pub that he was getting, all gone. You notice that Ortega, they don't really promote him as much as they used to. The Modelo commercial, they replaced him with Amanda Nunes and Stipe Miocic, and that's kind of funny too, because if you think about the history of Stipe Miocic, Dana White and Stipe have had their feud, and Amanda Nunes, now Dana White calls her the GOAT, but remember back in the day, Dana White was frustrated with the woman. Ortega, Dana White, has never been frustrated with her. Dana White has always said nothing but beaming positive things about Ortega, how the kid always wants to fight. Even if Ortega doesn't do really well with the negotiations with Dana, he never goes with the whole, sometimes when fighters don't want to fight, he goes, look, I like the kid, but he just didn't want to fight Tony Ferguson, like what he did with Dustin Poirier recently. Dana never did that. He goes, look, Brian Ortega's healing up some injuries and he'll be back soon. Yeah, I really like Ortega. Kid's awesome. He doesn't really ram on Ortega and crap on Ortega because he sees the potential in Brian Ortega. He sees that Brian Ortega is that guy that could possibly help the UFC moving forward. But after what Ortega did, and especially because this did get picked up by some mainstream media outlets, Jay Park is not some no-name guy. Like, I know for most MMA fans and people watching this channel, they're probably gonna be like, I don't know who he is, but from the K-pop stands and everything like that, that's a bigger market. That's a huge market right there. And when you hear that a guy who's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or blue belt, somewhere around those lines, he's a top-level Jiu-Jitsu fighter, a guy who's number 2 ranked in the mixed martial arts world, slaps a guy who's not a fighter, that doesn't look too good. And really, to be honest, it makes me ask the question, is Brian Ortega's star? Could this have hurt Brian Ortega in the long run if he loses this Saturday? Because here's the thing. We've seen this before with top prospects where there's guys that, UFC labels unbeatable, and then they lose that title fight, and then afterwards they lose the next fight, and the next fight, and the next fight, and then later on you're on YouTube and you get those videos of whatever happened to so on and so forth. Is Brian Ortega that type of guy? Because I like Brian Ortega's story. If you guys watch some past live streams on this channel, I like Brian Ortega as a fighter. I think he's a tremendous fighter. I even said at one point him and Ngannou were my 2 favorite fighters just because of the way they fought. I just enjoyed watching them fight. And the thing is with me is that I like that the kid worked hard to get to where he's at. But sometimes, that work ethic always doesn't stay. Sometimes people reach that certain level, they reach that certain euphoria of success, and then they say to themselves, no, I'm good. I'm fine where I'm at. Sometimes that happens. Not everyone is always like, hey, I have to work hard, I have to keep going, I have to keep pushing, so on and so forth to reach this certain status. Some people, and especially if you're Brian Ortega, a young kid, I believe 26, 27, I could be wrong on his age. Don't hate me in the comments, I don't have his Wikipedia up in front of me. But you're a young kid, you pretty much have to fight for your whole life. You went on and you had this great run in mixed martial arts. You fought for the world championship. You know that you're just 1 or 2 wins away from getting another shot at the world title. You're pretty much a guy that the UFC wants to build around. You're a superstar. You probably have other endorsements that we don't even know about. You're probably worth more than whatever your Google net worth is showing. You're one of those guys. You're one of the top guys for the UFC moving forward. The UFC really looks at you as a key figure piece, and especially when you look at his weight class, he's 145. He can bump down to 135 if he wants. He can move up to 155. Heck, when he gets older in age and cutting weight stinks, he could fight at 170. You're at pretty much the prime UFC weight classes. You're at the UFC weight classes where all the names are at. You have so much potential. But just because you have that potential and you have that ability does not mean you're always going to get there. And you wonder to yourself with Brian Ortega, could this be, if he loses at this UFC Fight Island event, Could this be the end of Brian Ortega? Could this be Brian Ortega, superstar ego, just getting the best of him? Because seeing what he did to Jay Park, well, not seeing, hearing what he did to Jay Park and all the events that led to it, it kind of just makes you feel like Brian Ortega is drinking his own Kool-Aid. Brian Ortega feels like he's untouchable, and that's just not the case, man. It's just not the case, and I hope it's not the case. I hope, you know, this fight, I'm excited for it. I like both fighters. I can't wait to see what happens. Official predictions will be coming later on this channel this week. But for me, I just worry that if Ortega loses this fight, he might be an MMA what if. If you guys like the video, hit that like button. Really do appreciate it. If you guys have time, follow me on Twitter at ChaseOliver68. Subscribe for more videos that are MMA and wrestling related on this channel. Thank you all very much for watching. Have yourself a good one. Peace.